Welcome to Conscious Coupling, where Frederic Gobeil and Christy Whitman share their experiences of creating a conscious, connected relationship. Every week, they give practical tools, steps, and processes to help you find the loving connection with your partner. Let's get into today's conversation with Frederic and Christy.
Hey everyone, how are you? I'm Christy Whitman.
And I'm your host, Frederic Gobeil.
And today we're going to be talking about parenting guilt, or specifically mom guilt. So when you are, and you know what, even if you're not a parent, this show is for you too, because there's two ways of experiencing guilt. When someone is trying to give you guilt, so you might still have your mom, dad, in-laws, and they try to give you guilt. Or there's the internalization of your own inner guilt. So that's what we're going to talk about, the two ways that guilt affects us in our relationship, and then how it can affect us in our couple. So I want to talk about just guilt in general. Guilt is an emotion that when you use it for what it's supposed to be used for, when you feel that whoosh of guilt, guilt is actually supposed to be used for if you have deliberately and intentionally done something to harm or hurt or take from somebody else. It's an emotion that we're wired to feel to let us know that we're off our moral compass, so to speak. So if you deliberately talk behind someone's back, or if you deliberately want to hurt someone, then the emotion that will be felt is guilt. But guilt, in what we have come to understand it, is we feel, I know for a lot of times for moms, with mom guilt, they are at their career and they're just killing it at their career, but when they're not with the kids, they're feeling guilty. Or when they're with the kids, they feel like they're not doing as much as they should in their business. And so it's this constant, like, I should be doing something different. I'm not doing what I should be, or I'm not doing it good enough, or I should be doing something else, but it's a feeling of that real emotion that's happening is actually shame. You're shaming yourself into what you should be doing, or what you have to do, or what you ought to do, and trying to be perfect. So when I first became a mom, I had that mom guilt too, because I was running a business from home, and even though both my boys were home with me, I still felt guilty because they're there with a nanny. And at one point I just had to say, no, I'm doing what I'm doing as a coach and building my business, and when I'm there, I'm just going to be fully present, giving it all that I have. And then when I'm with my kids or with my husband, I'm going to be there present, giving all what I have. And so when I'm with my kids, I'm not going to be thinking about what I should be doing in my business. And when I'm in my business, I'm going to not be thinking about what I should be doing with my kids, because it's a complete waste of life force energy to do that.
So don't fall into the trap of wondering, am I doing enough? Right? I didn't do this, or I didn't pick up whatever I needed to pick up. So which leads you into shoulds and blaming and all that. So don't fall into the trap of, I didn't do this, but rather
and then beating yourself up for it. Give yourself guilt beatings for it.
And go instead in the direction of, I am doing enough. Right. What I'm doing matters.
I'm a good mom. I'm a good father. I'm a great husband.
Exactly.
A great wife.
Everybody who I'm with cares for me, because I decided to take that time with them and to be with them for that amount of time. So let's be grateful that we are spending that amount of time together, even though it's not a full day, for example, or the whole entire week.
Yeah, as stated in the 4 agreements, one of the 4 agreements is always do your best. So as long as you are staying connected to yourself and you're being present, the difference is that when you're feeling and experiencing within yourself shame and guilt, it's a very low level vibration. You're going to be beating yourself up, and you're not going to be present. So you're so much better off just by pushing the guilt aside and saying, I have nothing to feel guilty about. I'm not doing this. I'm not trying to abandon my kids, or I'm not trying to abandon my business, or I'm not trying to take time away and to hurt my partner. I've got a full busy life. I'm not doing anything intentionally to hurt anybody, and there's no need for me to beat myself up or shame myself or give myself guilt beatings. So push that aside, and then you'll be able to be present, because when you are with your kids and you're not thinking about what you should do and how you got to be a better mom, and I could do this in my business, and you're really fully present with them, you're going to feel it, they're going to feel it, and your relationship is going to be so much more connected, so much more conscious, and you're going to enjoy each other more, and they're going to feel your presence there, instead of if you are off, thinking of other things. Because we can certainly feel it when we're in a couple, when we're in a relationship. If you are in your, like, if Frederic's in his head and he's not present with me, I mean, his body might be present with me, I might be even holding his hand, but if he's not fully there with me because he's beating himself up or he's thinking of something else, it's not the same as when you're really with me, and vice versa. If I'm thinking of other things, or if I'm beating myself up, but you have to remember that we're always feeding all of our relationships, our family relationships with our kids, our in-laws, everybody, and especially in our couple. And so the energy that we bring to the table to that interaction will either expand it or contract it. And so it's important to understand that guilt beatings and shame will only make the relationship deteriorate or not feel good.
Right. So another way of also looking at it is being more self-confident in what you bring to others or to the table, and knowing that as you work on your self-confidence, you're good with what you are doing. Again, you are enough. And also at the same time, respect other people's choices, right? If someone tells you, well, you know what, I can't come to the party today or to the party tomorrow, well, I guess that's their option, that's their choice. And let's respect that choice, right? And not guilt them into, oh, well, how come, you're not coming to my party or something like that. Let's respect each other's choices. That's all it is.
Right, and so that's the other part of it, is not only in the internal feeling of, oh my God, I'm never enough, never enough, never enough. Confidence is built by what you say to yourself, what you internalize, choosing to beat yourself up or not, choosing to look for what's good and right about you instead of what's bad and wrong or what you could or should or would be doing. So that's the internal, but then there's the external factor of guilt. I know that my mom, I was raised, and for those of you that are Catholic and Italian will understand this when I say this, but I was raised with a very Catholic Italian mom, and the way she would try to manipulate or control was through guilt. And it was like, well, all I have done for you, you can't even do this for me. And it was very shaming. It was trying to get me to do what she wanted me to do. And the way the mode of operation would be to guilt, to try to make me feel guilty. And for years I bought into that. And it is a way that a lot of my mom, at least that generation, because I know so many of my friends have the same, we're like, do we have the same mom? And they just rotate houses. Because they all try to do the same thing. Well, I remember the day that I stood up to my mom and I'm like, well, yes, you have done a lot for me, but this is what I have to do. And it's like, I can't be guilted into doing what you want me to do. And so, we have to not accept that external guilt. There's a story that when Frederic and I were talking about the show, we were talking about when we first got together, we were together about, almost a year, and he had his birthdays in July, and in January timeframe, he had a business with 2 other business partners. In January, I thought about taking him on a trip, just the 2 of us, to St. Martin, and I had like a timeshare and be able to spend that week with him in like the beautiful tropical destination would be amazing. So I contacted his business partners, okayed it with them. They got back to me, said, yep, it'd be fine. And a couple of days, literally like a couple of days, I was going to tell him the night before. I was going to pack his bag, and the night before, I was going to tell him tomorrow morning we're getting on a plane and we're going to St. Martin. Well, I think it was like just a couple of days before that, he was talking about how busy his business was and that it was a really busy time and that sort of thing. And I'm like, oh God, do I tell him? Because now he's like kind of in a stress mode. I don't know if he's going to be able to get away from work. And so I said, well, I have something to tell you for your birthday. I have a gift, and I think I should probably tell you now. And so I did, and he was like, I can't go away. And I was like, okay. And that was between us, you know. It was a situation where it was like, I can't do that. I'm too busy. I can't take a week off of work, because he was, you know, he was the sales guy basically. And so dealt with that. But then he brought his mom into the picture, into the conversation, and was telling her about the gift that I had given him. And his mom started shaming him about me. Like, why would she have to compensate for her love like that? And why would she give you such an elaborate big gift? And, you know, like trying to make him feel bad about me and that there's something wrong with me. And then I even had a conversation with her, and she was shaming me for giving him such an elaborate gift.
Well, I guess everybody has, you know, their own threshold of what they're willing to receive.
Right, clearly.
And for me, that was a big gift. Nobody had ever given me such an amazing gift. And I guess I guilted myself. Instead of saying, thank you, oh my God, that's just such a beautiful gift, I just decided not to
receive it.
Not to receive it. And I closed down, and instead of being grateful, I looked at it as, you know, why is she giving me such a great gift? And sometimes, see, we start, you know, getting the mind involved into these things, and it's okay. That's the gift that she wanted to give me.
I'm just a very generous person, but I've never had anybody shame me for my generosity before. And so I was like, okay, if you can't go. So I called my best girlfriend Dawn up, and I'm like, he can't go, because she knew all about it. And she's like, let me call you back. She calls me back like about 20 minutes later. She goes, I'll meet you in St. Martin. And so I went on a girls' trip, what turned out to be an amazing girls' trip with my girlfriend Dawn. We had a great time. As a matter of fact, as a little I went into the ocean. It was so blue and tropical and turquoise, and it was amazing. And I took my top off, and I turned, and I had her take a picture from the shoreline as I'm in the water saying, wish you were here.
We'll give you the link of the picture that you can click on.
But it was kind of my way of going, eat, you know, too bad you're not here.
Look
kind
what
of
you're
thing.
missing
Look
out
what your
on.
guilt did, you know. So all this to say that guilt, whether you're receiving it externally from someone else, we have a choice in, are we going to receive that? Because I started to feel bad for myself, started feeling guilty, like maybe there's something wrong with me. Why do I have to give such elaborate gifts? No, there's nothing wrong with me. I'm just a very generous person. I love giving gifts like that. I love surprising and, you know, having people go, wow. You know, I'm like a television host that wants to have people with their reaction going, oh my God, right?
She's like Oprah. She wants to give all these gifts, all these travel. And
yeah, I'm just a generous person. It's just the way, and it's a value that I have and a value that I appreciate about myself. And so when someone's trying to shame me for that, I have a choice in that and saying, no, you know, that might be your threshold, like Frederic was saying, or that might be where your receiving ends, but this is who I am. I'm generous. And so we can choose to take on that guilt and shame ourselves by what other people, I've done so much for you. What have you done for me? And after all I've done for you. And if you are in a couple and you have kids, please watch where you try to guilt your kids into doing something too, because the kids then take that as shame. When we are guilting someone, we bring it in shame, and when we have shame in our bodies, our shame tanks get really full, and that's when our kids try to escape. They're doing gaming, and they're addicted to gaming and electronics, and you know, some go out and try to do drugs or drink alcohol. I mean, a lot of the vices and things that I talk about in the Vice Freedom program, it all leads to you're not feeling good inside of yourself, you're shaming yourself, you're beating yourself up, you want to escape yourself, so you go drink coffee or eat sugar or smoke cigarettes or pot or whatever it is, or just you're addicted to the TV or electronics or any of these other things just to escape yourself. And so we have a choice in what we say to other people, the energy that we give out. So we have a choice when other people are doing that to us. If someone's playing the victim role and they're wanting us to rescue and we're not rescuing them, and so they try to guilt us into doing what they want us to do, we always have that choice. And by the way, Frederic and I have a new program coming out. It's a 30-day video program that takes you from drama to love and teaches you how to stay out of the drama triangle and get into the circle of love. So I'm really excited for us to launch that, which is coming very shortly. So we have a choice, obviously, in receiving that guilt and choosing something else. And we also have a choice in how we are in the energy field that we're in within ourselves internally. So remember, guilt beatings can happen either externally or internally. And the first thing we have to do is you have to be aware of it. You just have to be aware that you're doing it, right?
And the more we are working with ourselves, right, the more we are working with being more aware, more conscious, more deliberate in the communication style, the skills of communications that we have with one another, the more we'll be able to perceive that guilt, coming at us and notice it.
The whoosh, the energy.
That energy, yeah.
So, and then understand if it's coming from either external or if it's coming from internal, and that, remember, you do have a choice. You have a choice in how you do want to feel. And it's really up to us to choose how we want to feel and what choices, how we're going to communicate, what boundaries. And as a matter of fact, next episode that we have, we're going to talk to you about the 3 important steps to effective communication with your partner or anybody, really, whether it's you're running a business or your in-laws or your kids or your partner. So make sure to tune into that next week. Any last words on guilt?
No last words on guilt. I think guilt is enough. Let's move on. We don't want to stew in it.
That's it. So just be aware of where you're doing it and choose to do something else. So have an amazing day, everybody. Amazing week. Thank you so much for listening. We appreciate you. Have a great day.
See you next week.
Thanks for listening to Conscious Coupling with Frederic Gobeil and Christy Whitman. If you like our show and want to know more, check out ChristyWhitman.com. And please leave us a review on iTunes. Learn how to turn your partner into your soulmate. Join us again next week for another powerful episode.